What if the key to unlocking unlimited abundance and personal power isn't out there, but already within you? This video dives deep into the ancient secret of I Am, revealing how this foundational concept, championed by figures like Goldsmith, is the direct pathway to manifesting your greatest desires. Prepare to shift your perception and activate your inherent ability to create. So let's get straight to it. Forget everything you think you know about getting stuff. Forget grinding, hustling, and begging the universe for crumbs. That's the small-time game. We're here to talk about the big leagues, the cosmic cheat code that doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your whole world from the inside out. We're talking about the journey from I am to infinite manifestation. Most of us are out here trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. We're focused on the what, the car, the job, the relationship. But what if I told you that's like trying to get a Netflix show to stream on a black and white tube TV? The signal is there, but your receiver is all wrong. The truth is, you aren't a person trying to get a spiritual connection. You are the connection. The I am that you feel in your quietest, most Buddha moments. That's not just a feeling. That's the source. That's the whole entire factory, not just one product coming off the line. And when you tap into that, manifestation isn't something you do. It's something that flows through you effortlessly. It's the universe doing its thing, with you as the main channel. So if you're ready to stop chasing and start being the vibe that attracts everything you desire, if you're ready to trade in your wish list for a consciousness of absolute, already done fulfillment, then you need to see what happens next. This is where we really get into the good stuff. So do me a solid. If this is hitting for you, smash that like button. Drop a comment with the number 11 if you're ready to step into your infinite nature, and subscribe to keep walking this path with us. Let's get into it. Of course, here is the expansion of your first keynote, continuing directly from the flow of the introduction. So, let's get into it. This first point is the bedrock of everything, the one thing you've got to lock in before anything else makes sense. We're talking about the I am is your operating system. Now, what does that even mean? Think about your phone. You don't sit there marveling at the home screen all day, right? You're using the apps. You're texting, you're scrolling, you're taking pictures. But every single one of those apps, every function, every bit of data, only works because of the invisible operating system running underneath it all, iOS or Android. It's the silent, powerful intelligence that makes everything else possible. Without it, your phone is just a shiny, expensive paperweight. Your human experience, with all its thoughts, feelings, and the wild stuff happening in your life, that's the apps. That's the Instagram, the maps, the camera. But your I am, that pure sense of being, of awareness that you just are, that's your iOS. It's not another app you open and close. It's the fundamental ground of your being. Most of us are out here trying to download a million new manifestation apps onto a corrupted operating system, wondering why everything keeps crashing. We're trying to fix the picture without realizing the camera's lens is cracked. We pray from the level of the app. We beg. We bargain. We visualize from this place of me, the separate little person who needs things. We're like a glitchy weather app screaming at the sky for being sunny when it's programmed for rain. It's a level confusion. You can't fix a software problem by jiggling the hardware. The revolutionary shift on the Goldsmith path is this. You stop identifying as the app and you start abiding as the operating system. The I am is God in action as you. It's not Joel's fancy metaphysical idea. It's the raw, living truth of your existence. It's the Christ, the Buddha, nature, the infinite. Whatever label resonates, and it's not up in the clouds. It's the very consciousness you're using to understand these words right now. This is why all the frantic doing in the world leaves us empty. It's all app-level activity. Real power, the kind that effortlessly reorganizes the world of form, comes from a deep, silent communion with the OS itself. It's not about adding another belief to your collection. It's a sinking in, a letting go, a recognition. It's the moment you realize the ocean doesn't need to beg for wetness. It is wetness. You don't need to beg for abundance, for peace, for love. You need to awaken to the truth that your very nature, the I am, is the substance and source of all those things. When you touch this, your whole relationship with prayer and desire flips. You're no longer a beggar at the door of a distant king. You are the kingdom itself. Your work is not to create from nothing, but to bear witness, to get your personal self, your ego, your fears, your limited story out of the way, so that the infinite intelligence and creativity of the I am can express itself as your life. The manifesting isn't your job, it's the natural, automatic function of the operating system when it's no longer being interfered with by a buggy, fearful app trying to run the whole show. And that brings us to our second cornerstone, the natural outcome of understanding the first, stop chasing, start being the vibe. See, once you get that you are the operating system, the whole frantic game of seeking completely falls apart. It has to. You can't be the source of something and be chasing after it at the same time. That's like your phone's GPS desperately trying to find itself on the map. It's a logical error that creates a spiritual nightmare. Most of manifestation teaching out there is still stuck in this seeking mentality, just with fancier tools. It's all about better visualization, more potent affirmations, more specific scripting. But listen closely, that is still chasing. You're just using a private jet instead of a bicycle. You're still operating from the core belief of lack, from the feeling that what you want is way out there, and you have to perform some kind of spiritual trick to pull it into your orbit. When you live from the I am, you realize you are not a hunter, you are the garden, of course. Here is the expansion of your third keynote, continuing the flow directly from the previous one. And this understanding of being the vibe, of tending the garden, leads us directly to a truth that will save you a lifetime of spiritual frustration. This is where we have to get brutally honest and clear the decks of a major misconception. I'm talking about Keynote 3, God ain't a slot machine. Let that land for a second. So much of modern spirituality, even the well-intentioned stuff, has devolved into a cosmic transaction. It's a subtle but deadly barter system. We think, okay, if I meditate for 20 minutes, that's one pull on the lever. If I say my affirmations with enough feeling, that's another. And if I can just be high vibe enough, then boom, the jackpot has to pay out. My order is up. We're treating the infinite, the sacred mystery of being, like a celestial vending machine. Insert the correct prayer, push the right button, and your selected blessing drops down the chute. And when it doesn't work, we get frustrated. We think we didn't have enough faith, our technique was wrong, or worse, we decide the whole system is broken. This is a complete and total misunderstanding of the principle. It keeps you trapped in the consciousness of a beggar, just a beggar who has learned a few magic words. You're still separate from your good. You're still a have-not, trying to get something from a have. This entire model is built on the foundation of duality. You hear? God there? And it's a foundation of sand. The God of the Goldsmith path is not a separate entity you negotiate with. It is the very substance of your I am. It is the lifeblood of the operating system. You don't petition it, you are. It prayer, then, is not a request sent out into the void. True prayer is the practice of conscious union. It's the quiet sinking into the truth that you and the Father are one. It's the act of stilling the mind of its wants and fears until all that remains is the silent, potent awareness of being, the I am. From that place, what is there to ask for? When you are abiding in the ocean, do you ask for a cup of water? When you are standing in the sun, do you beg for a beam of light? You don't, because you are already immersed in the totality of what you are. The function of this conscious union is not to fulfill a shopping list, but to transform your consciousness. And as your consciousness is transformed, as it moves from a sense of lack to a knowing of wholeness, your outward experience has no choice but to reorganize itself to match that new, higher frequency. The flow of good doesn't come because you pleased a distant deity. It appears as the natural and inevitable evidence of the state of consciousness you are embodying. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's the shadow cast by the substance of your being. So you stop looking for specific, pre-packaged outcomes. You stop telling the infinite how to do its job. You release the what and the how, and you place your entire trust in the who, the I am that you are. You move from being a negotiator to being a beholder, witnessing the infinite creativity of spirit take form in ways your limited human mind could never have imagined or demanded. The desire to manipulate life falls away, replaced by a profound curiosity to see how the wholeness you feel within will express itself as your world. And that brings us to the engine of this entire process, the very mechanism by which the inner reality becomes the outer. If God isn't a slot machine, then what is the actual medium of exchange in this spiritual economy? This is Keynote 4. Your consciousness is the only currency. Let's break that down, because we throw around the word consciousness a lot, but here it means something very specific. It's not your intellect. It's not your positive thinking. It's not your beliefs, not in the superficial sense. Your consciousness is the total, summed-up field of your awareness. It's the quality of your being. It's the lens through which you perceive absolutely everything. And this lens is not neutral. It is actively creative. It is the mold into which the liquid, formless substance of spirit is poured to become your tangible experience. Your world, in every detail, is an outpicturing, a perfect mirror of your inner state of consciousness. Think of it like this: your consciousness is the soil, the infinite is the rain. The rain falls indiscriminately on all soil, but what grows from that soil is entirely dependent on the condition of the soil itself. The same rain that grows a rose in one garden will grow weeds in another. The rain doesn't choose. It just gives life to whatever seeds are present. Your consciousness is that soil. It contains the seeds of your thoughts, your deep-seated beliefs, your fears, your faith, your sense of lack or your sense of abundance. The infinite, the I am, is the constant, nourishing rain, giving life and form to whatever seeds you are holding in your awareness. This is why two people can do the same visualization, say the same prayer, and get wildly different results. They were using the same technique, the same rain, but the soil of their consciousness was completely different. One was rooted in a deep, unspoken fear of unworthiness, and that's exactly what manifested. The other, perhaps, had touched a genuine moment of oneness, and their good flowed naturally. You cannot fool this principle. You can't put a positive affirmation on top of a negative core belief and expect it to work. It's like planting a tomato seed in a pot and desperately affirming that it will grow into an apple tree. The law is immutable. The seed must correspond to the harvest. So, the real work, the only work that matters, is the inner work of tilling your own soil. It's the constant, gentle vigilance over your inner world. It's noticing when you're operating from a consciousness of fear, of separation, of not enough, and consciously returning to the truth of your I am nature, the truth of wholeness, oneness, and infinite supply. You aren't trying to change God's mind. You are refining the receiving mechanism. You are purifying the lens. When your consciousness is anchored in the truth of your spiritual completeness, that completeness has no choice but to objectify itself in your life. The currency you spend, moment by moment, is not your effort, but the quality of your awareness. And that currency buys you everything or nothing, based solely on its purity. And this brings us to the ultimate, liberating conclusion of this entire path. If your consciousness is the only currency, then the entire battlefield of your life shifts. It means the victory you seek, the wholeness you desire, will never be found in rearranging the external world. The final and most important work is always an inside job. This is Keynote 5, the inside job is the only job. We have been conditioned, almost from birth, to look for salvation out there. We think if we just get the right job, the right partner, the right amount of money in the bank, then we'll finally be happy. We'll finally be at peace. We treat our outer circumstances like the master dials on a control board, frantically turning them this way and that, trying to tune our inner world to a better station. But we've got it completely backwards. The outer world isn't the control board, it's the readout. It's the screen displaying the data from the internal program. Trying to fix your life by manipulating the screen is like trying to change a movie by painting on the television. It might look different for a second, but the source signal hasn't changed and the original program will always reassert itself. The real control board, the true source of the signal, is within you. It is the state of your own consciousness. Every single problem you perceive in your outer world, every lack, every conflict, every limitation, is not a problem in its own right. It is a symptom. It is a physical manifestation of a constriction, a fear, or a misidentification within your own awareness. To fight with the symptom is a fool's errand. It's like taking aspirin for a brain tumor. You might numb the pain for a little while, but you're doing nothing to address the root cause. The only permanent solution, the only true healing, happens when you turn your attention completely inward and address the state of being that is projecting the problem. This is the core of the Goldsmith path. It is the unwavering commitment to this inner work. It means when a problem arises, your first and only reflexive question becomes, what in my consciousness is seeing this? What state of mind am I in that is giving this illusion power and reality? You stop being a victim of circumstance and become a master of your own inner landscape. You cease trying to change what's happening and instead focus on changing the you that is perceiving it. This is not a passive resignation. It is the most active and powerful stance you can take. It is taking full, radical responsibility for your entire experience of reality. This is the practice of dying daily to the carnal mind, the mind that believes in good and evil, lack and abundance as external powers. It is the moment-by-moment choice to withdraw your faith from the outer appearance and place it back onto the truth of the I am. You sit, you become still, and you consent to the presence of God within you. You allow that divine current to dissolve the knots of fear and judgment. You don't do this to get a result out here. You do it until the inner experience of peace and wholeness becomes so vivid, so real, that the outer picture simply has to surrender and conform. The healing of a relationship, the appearance of supply, the resolution of a conflict. These are never the goal. They are the inevitable, automatic byproducts of a consciousness that has been restored to its natural state of grace. The outside doesn't change until the inside shifts, and so we arrive at the natural state of being that emerges when you truly master the inside job. When you've done the work of tending the soil of your consciousness, when you've stopped trying to force outcomes and have instead surrendered to your true nature as the I am, something remarkable begins to happen. The struggle falls away, the frantic striving just ceases, and you find yourself carried by a current that is both powerful and profoundly peaceful. This is the fruit of the entire path, the evidence that the principle is alive and working within you. This is Keynote 6, Effortless, Flow over Forced Hustle. The world worships the hustle. It screams at us that more effort, more grit, more sheer force of will is the only path to success. And from the level of the human picture, that seems true. But from the level of the spirit, it's a complete illusion. It's like trying to make a river flow faster by pushing it with your hands. All you get is tired, and the river pays you no mind. It has its own intelligence, its own power, its own perfect timing and direction. Your forced hustle is not just ineffective, it's a sign of distrust. It's a proclamation to the universe that you believe your good comes from your own limited power, and that if you stop straining for 1 second, the entire house of cards will collapse. It is a prayer of fear, not faith. Effortless flow is what happens when you consciously align with the current of the I am. It's not you, the personal self, figuring things out and making them happen. It is you, the individual consciousness, getting out of the way and letting the infinite express its infinite creativity through you. This is not passive, it is intensely active, but the quality of the action is completely different. It feels like being in the zone. It's inspired action. It's the right idea appearing at the right moment. It's the perfect person calling out of the blue. It's a sense of being guided, of being used for a purpose that is both yours and greater than you. There is no anxiety in this flow, because your identity isn't tied to the outcome. You are the I am, and the I am is already whole and complete. The actions you take, then, are not desperate attempts to become whole, but joyful expressions of the wholeness you already are. This is the secret the mystics knew. They didn't achieve enlightenment through brutal force. They attained it through a sublime and total surrender. They stopped pushing the river and instead learned to lie back in its currents and let it carry them. Your life becomes like that. The right opportunities begin to find you. The necessary resources appear. The work you do feels less like labor and more like a dance. This doesn't mean you never take action. It means your actions are no longer born from a place of lack and fear, but from a deep, intuitive listening, a following of the breadcrumbs that the intelligence of the I am is laying out for you. You move when you feel the nudge. You rest when the flow seems still. You trust that the same power that created the universe is perfectly capable of orchestrating the details of your life. You trade the exhausting, lonely burden of personal will for the graceful, supported, and infinitely intelligent rhythm of divine expression. The hustle was you trying to be God. The flow is you remembering that you are of God and letting that be enough.